widened in surprise. Pictures of Charles Muntz were tacked to the wall. Adventure gear was everywhere. Ropes, a compass, even an old bicycle. A girl stood near the front window, steering with the wheel of the upside-down bike. She was wearing a leather helmet like Carl's and looking out the window. "All engines ahead full," she commanded. "Let's take her up 26,000 feet." There was no doubt about it. This girl was playing adventurer, too. Carl turned to get a better look at her collection of Charles Muntz photos and newspaper clippings. "What are you doing?" the girl asked, suddenly appearing at his side. Carl let out a yelp. He was so surprised that he let go of his balloon. "Don't you know that this is an exclusive club?" the girl demanded. "Only explorers get in here, not just any kid off the street with a helmet and a pair of goggles. Do you think you got what it takes? Well, do you?" Carl stammered. "All right, you're in," said the girl. "Welcome aboard." She held out her hand, but Carl didn't take it. He found the girl a bit intimidating. "What's wrong?" she asked, more gently. "Can't you talk? Hey, I don't bite." The girl took off her helmet and shook out her messy red hair. Buttons and badges were pinned to the front of her shirt. She unfastened one made out of the cap from a bottle of grape soda. "You and me, we're in a club now," she said, pinning the cap onto Carl's shirt. Carl smiled, and the girl grinned back. "I saw where your balloon went," she said, looking up toward the second story. "Come on, let's go get it." The girl quickly walked out of the room, heading for the creaky old staircase in the hallway. Carl didn't move. He was still feeling stunned. Half a second passed, then the girl popped back in with a quizzical look on her face. Clearly she was wondering why Carl hadn't followed. Then she grinned, realizing what the problem must be. She had forgotten to introduce herself. "My name's Ellie," she said cheerfully. Carl's face turned bright red as she grabbed his hand and pulled him into the hall. Together the two picked their way up the stairs. Carl followed Ellie, careful to tread in her exact footsteps. He didn't want to fall through the rotten wood. At the top, Ellie took Carl's hand and helped him over the last step. Carl blushed, but Ellie didn't notice. "There it is," she said, pointing to the balloon. Unfortunately, it was floating in a room that didn't have a floor. A single beam stretched across the empty space. Carl gulped. It was a 12-foot drop to the floor below. "Well, go ahead," Ellie urged. Carl screwed up his courage and stepped onto the beam. He took another step, inching forward. He was halfway across when he felt the beam splinter. He had just enough time to see the shocked look on Ellie's face before he fell. Carl propped up the flashlight with his good arm. He was trying to read in bed, but it wasn't too comfortable. He'd broken his arm when he had fallen off the beam in Ellie's clubhouse. The curtains fluttered like ghosts as a breeze blew gently across the room. A blue balloon with a stick tied to the end floated in through Carl's window. Carl let out a shriek and jumped, banging his arm against the side table. "Ow!" A head of messy red hair popped in through the window. "Hey, kid!" Carl shrieked again and hit himself on the face with his cast. "Ow!" "Thought you might need a little cheering up," Ellie said as she climbed through the window. She joined Carl under the tent he had made with his blankets. "I got something to show you. I'm about to let you see something I have never shown to another human being. Ever. In my life," she added. "You'll have to swear you will not tell anyone." Carl nodded, wide-eyed. "Cross your heart. Do it." Carl crossed his heart, and Ellie nodded, satisfied. "My adventure book," Ellie said, pulling out her homemade scrapbook. She turned to the first page, a photo of Charles Muntz. "You know him. Charles Muntz, explorer. When I get big, I'm going where he's going. South America." She pointed to a map.